Yeah, that was very interesting. I understand the film was originally, well, it started off as a video installation, and the murder fantasy scenes were originally part of that video installation.
Yes, exactly.
So what were your motivations to actually do the video installation in the first place, and then what motivated you to expand it into a feature-length documentary?
So actually, it was the question of money, because it was very expensive to show it, this video installation on other places. So that's why I came up with the idea to make a movie out of it. And so but just showing the movies one by one wouldn't be enough for me. So I came up with the idea and met these participants again after 10 years almost, and made these interviews, really long interviews. So I had a lot of material to select from, you know, and it was nice meeting them and going back in the past, you know.
And with the participants at the end, we saw that they had a wide range of professions. And how did you go about finding them? Were they hard to find? Were they hard to persuade?
So in the beginning, you know, these were my friends, some of them, and then once I realized that it's got potential, then I got into looking people from all over, you know, like from friend circles and another friend circles and so on, until it ended up that people were calling me up with ideas, you know, and asking if they could do a movie with me, you know. And by the end, also I was making some movies with actors, you know, because also they had their own fantasies, you know. So it was a nice touch to this, you know.
Did you find any correlation between the actual profession and the severity of the crime, the actual act, the motives, how elaborate they were?
Not really, you know, because it just is so, the motives why people wanted to do this kind of killing, you know, is more a character question, a personal thing to these people, you know. So, but I could say, like, when I would, if you would ask me what are motives by women and men, so women are more this kind of killers that want to be clean, you know, and men want to be more physical, you know. But I think this is obvious, you know, so there was no really surprise to me, you know.
Did you find when you actually made the murder scenes, I noticed there was kind of like a voyeuristic effect with it. Did you use a home camera with that? And did you also help write the scenes, or did they completely write them? And
it was from case to case, always a different thing, you know. There were people that came up just with the fear, for example, you know, and I helped them to develop a story out of it. And then there were people that came up with the perfect script, you know, how they wanted to act it out. And I was saying, okay, this is your choice, you know, it's your fantasy, you're gonna be the best in it, you know. And I was using my skills, you know, to make the short films as best as possible, as creepy as possible, as realistic as possible. And so it was always depending on the case, you know, what they wanted to portray, you know.
Okay. Do the audience have any questions?
Yeah, with your selection of people to participate in the installation and eventually the film, were you ever inclined to actually involve somebody that had some experience in killing? For example, you had Ratko, the Serbian guy, and you also had a British guy that I thought was a soldier but turned out to be an actor. I just wondered if you'd thought about that.
Yeah, there was actually one person in this Serbian short story in the cabin where he puts a knife inside the head, you know, and this guy was actually during the Serbian Kosovo war, but he wasn't actually fighting. He was the one guy who was collecting the dead bodies from the battlefield and bringing them to the hospitals and so on. But so far I know that there were no people actually involved in real crimes. I mean, there have been 2 actors that died afterwards. I shot these films. One was a drug addict. There was the guy in this torture scene with the scratched face. And the other one committed suicide. So if you want to see this as a crime, you know, kind of, then, but as far as I know, they're all lovely people, and I really have good times with them, you know. And I probably would be more scared of people that didn't want to be part of it, of this project, you know, that didn't want to open their minds, you know. And there were some cases, you know, that just didn't want to talk about this at all, you know. And I think this is kind of exercise for anybody, that once you open your mind and you talk about this kind of things, this kind of topics, then you're already the non-criminal, you know. I think, as I say, the people who doesn't want to talk about this, these are the potential criminals.
Thanks.
Any other questions?
Yes.
I guess you are already pretty tired of answering this one, but what was your original motivation? What was it that you were interested in the subject?
Actually, it was my past, because I was born in Poland, and I grew up in Poland. I was born in '75, and in '81 there was this almost a war going on in December in Poland, where there were the strikes and the Russian troops were almost entering, so the Polish army decided to take over the strikes and make police hours and stuff like this. So I personally, when I was 6 years old, I saw a lot of violence going on the streets, and it was quite shocking to me, and I never lost these images. And then I went to Austria when I was 10, and I had a video camera in my hands, and I thought that might be interesting, you know, to explore the violence, you know, that I lived through on fictional images, you know. So I was doing a lot of horror movies in my childhood, and this was the way to work with the images. And but I was kind of bored working with actors, to be honest. So this was a very spontaneous idea that I thought, how would it be that how would be if I just asked normal people, you know, if they would be, if they want to be a part of my experiment, you know. And it turned into an interesting matter. So I continued doing it, and yeah, became an addict, you know. everybody I was meeting, I was looking at them as a potential participants of the project.
Did you find that with any of the participants that their perceptions of their own potential for violence changed as a result of engaging in this experiment of yours?
You mean it's 10 years later?
Yeah, or even directly after.
Direct,
I assume you talked to them afterwards. And
yes, many of them, they were feeling free after acting, so they actually, you know, it was a good thing to them that they went through the hell, you know, of imagining. But I don't know, actually. I mean, I'm still in contact with many of them, and they are just, you know, they're proud of being part of this project, you know, and that they participated in. But I think they're okay, you know.
you know, I hope none of them turn into killers.
Yeah, no, I hope not.
So, what about the other people, the victims in the videos? Were they? Because I understood there were several who were, you know, imagining killing girlfriends or spouses, and who played them, and were they the actual spouses? And if they were, how did you get them to do it?
So usually this, you know, these were actually friends, relatives, or partners, or husbands or wives that wanted to be part of it, you know. And so in many cases, it's been like partners, actually, you know, that played the victim. But there were also some people that I approached that wanted to be victim, so we had to look for the killer, you know. So, so then this it was the same thing, you know. I mean, there are some other stories that I didn't use for Zero Killed, so they are in video installation. They're like group mafia gatherings together where they shoot at each other. So then there were like huge circles of friends meeting together, you know, and acting them out. And many of them were acting in several stories, you know, changing roles as victims and perpetrators, and so on, you know. So it was always like a combination, you know, of possibilities.
So how did the spouses feel about being victims? Or they in the game, or did they change somehow?
Yeah, there were some people that didn't like it so much. Like the black guy who was beaten up to death in the forest. He was actually, afterwards he said he shouldn't have done that because he really felt like being killed, you know. But then on the other side he mentioned that it's actually a good experience because he lives in Vienna, and he's black, and he's got a lot of things to do with racism on a daily basis. So it was actually good to feel like, how is it to be a victim, you know? But then on the other side, he was really, didn't feel good about this until today, you know? But then on the other side, there was this girl that was in a coffin inside, and for her it was a total relief, you know? Being there inside the coffin, you know? Because we really shot it in the basement, you know, with almost coffin with an open side, and this was kind of creepy, you know. Actually, it was the moment what we were doing there, you know, and we just wanted to check out what's going on. Several times we had police action, actually. You know? So,
what are your views on documentaries? Because some documentary filmmakers can try to be as matter of fact, and then some can try to offer a perspective. And obviously, you've filmed some fictional scenes based on people's fantasies.
yes.
How important do you think it is to offer your perspective and your participants' perspectives into the documentary?
I mean, this film is an experiment, you know. It's first of all in a hybrid form, I think, of documentary and fiction, and I didn't choose the genre, you know. The genre was created by the idea, and I think this is it, you know. This is every movie I do is not defined by a genre, but just by the concept, and depending on what the concept is, what direction it goes, then you can put it in a niche or in a category, you know, if you want. But I'd rather want to do it, you know.
So was this like a culmination of your past work, because you've worked in music videos, documentaries, and experimental shows?
Yeah, exactly.
As well?
Yeah.
Any more questions?
What sort of life has this film had in Europe?
So far it was shown in like 12 festivals.
Mm-hmm.
It just won yesterday in Texas, the main prize of the South Texas Underground Film Festival. It was like the third prize. But it's actually well accepted in the United States. So we have like 30 other festivals coming up in the next 2 months. And we had the screening in Romania. And we also had one screening in Oldenburg in Germany, where it was not received that well, because half of the people left. They were shouting at me, perverted pig, you know, and things like this, and closing the doors. And so it actually was interesting, you know, to see the reactions. but it's going on. It's continuous festival circuit now. And I have an offer for a distribution in the United States for a theatrical release next year, and we'll see how it goes.
Any questions? I've got one actually.
Yes.
What are your thoughts of the audience as they participate in watching and indulging on other people's fantasies? Do you think they're just as perverse as the participants?
I was just scared. I was just afraid that if they not gonna hurt anybody, because there was the moderator, Epic Har, who is a film director and actor. A woman smashed a cinema ticket on his face, you know, and this was really aggressive. So I was worried about that, you know, nothing is gonna happen, and it was fine, you know. Then I asked him after the screening, you know, because I saw some of the audience waiting outside, not killing me, but and I asked him why did they enter the film at all? I mean, didn't you read the synopsis, you know? And so it's yeah, interesting experience, you know, where you start to feel unpleasant a bit, you know. So I thank you that you didn't leave the cinema.
We can still shout if you want.
We can throw things at
So what are you thinking of doing next after this project?
There are two projects, actually 3 projects that I'm working on. One is a documentary and a fictional movie, a mixture similar to this one, to the concept, and it's about the historical reenactments in Poland and Germany, based on 2 events: the Warsaw Uprising in the year '44 and the biggest Middle Age battle in the 15th century between the Slavic countries and the German Crusaders. And so basically what in Poland especially is now going on, there are every year a lot of reenactments by normal people, Polish people that are putting, for example, SS uniforms on the weekends, and they perform the war. And there are so many now of these groups that I thought it would be an interesting idea to interview them and shoot all the reenactments and make a similar movie as this one. It has this working title, Dark Tourism, which is based on the grief tourism idea, you know, of visiting places of where death happened. And the highest level of being a dark tourist is actually being the role of the person that was doing a crime or was confronted with death. So this is one project. And the other one is actually a experimental horror movie, fictional movie. Just put in 2 sentences about a group of underground filmmakers in the year '38 in Germany that are making a horror movie, and in a forest, very classical, you know, but the twist is that they get in touch with a German Gestapo group that is actually torturing and liquidating artists from that time. So they become the witness and at the same time parts of the team, the victim, and of the Gestapo group. And the whole film is an experiment to show like what is more cruel, the fictional horror they try to shoot or the real horror that is going on. Because this is maybe nobody really knows about the history of the of the Third Reich, is that many actually Goebbels was responsible for the whole propaganda ministry, and he was the film minister, and there were only strict kind of topics allowed to do in movies. So horror movies were completely banned from the screen, so there were no place for horror movies. But when we think back, there were incredible horror filmmakers, horror films produced in the 20s in Germany. So that was kind of, it's a dark chapter of Germany until today. And I tried to do something in that area that is referring to nowadays politics, you know. So these are the project I'm working on now.
Yeah, definitely look forward to it. But I suggest you go on Michal's website because there's some wildly hypnotic shorts that I've seen. Sleepers, Gypsy Express. Yeah, I really like them. But yeah, you should go on the website if you want to give the website. What's the address?
That's michalkosakowski.net
Okay.
or zerokilt.org, and then redirect it.
Okay. Thank you very much. Give a round of applause.
Thank you.